It's caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the.
Like I approach my life spiritually. So the spiritual side of it for me is this: a body is just that. It's a body. It's an avatar. Oftentimes, when women are pregnant, you'll see that they've lost their baby during pregnancy because a baby's spirit is still so in tune with the spiritual world. It's traveling back and forth, and sometimes it just doesn't come back. So that woman experiences a loss. Say a woman decides to, like, today is not the time for me to have a baby. Now it's not a good time for me to have a baby. If she chooses that, she should have a safe option to pursue that. Now, if that's not something she doesn't want to do, then cool, she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't have to do it. But for women, the statistics have shown that banning abortions and doing away with them does not stop abortions, it stops the number of safe abortions that are happening. So women will still pursue abortions. Like, there's a fact, y'all know I'm a little factoid nerd. There was a plant that was very well known in ancient time. It was a fertility plant that was used to abort babies and was used as a birth control. And ancient Greeks literally ate that plant into extinction. So it's nothing new, women not wanting babies. Like, it's not something that just began at the turn of the century. Women since the beginning of time have deemed that today is not a good time to have a baby. Women during slavery would often find ways, they knew the roots and the herbs to take to abort their babies because I don't want to bear a baby into this life. So if you take yourself out of the conversation and you think about where women are spiritually and how they feel at the time that they have the abortion, then yes, those women have an opportunity to get rid of an avatar because that spirit, it's not time for that spirit to come through to this world right now. Okay, fine. But even take the conversation a step further, abortions being banned do not pose a risk to rich people or people who are, minorities or living in poverty. People who live in poverty are at the biggest risk when things like this happen because we have to seek those bad means, those coat hanger, back alley abortions because people will still seek abortion.
That's true. I agree with that. But it's more so, okay, we're going to get abortions. We're going to do what we want to do. But I think that it's a deeper issue I think it's about accountability to an extent. I feel like it's about that woman taking accountability. Like, I met many of women who's had abortions, and I feel like that is something in them that it's hard to get over, to move on. Like, talk about that. So why put yourself through that? You know what I'm saying?
My mom died. How long ago was it mom died, bro? A few years ago. Let's say 3 years ago, right? That's my big brother. Craig was. He's
look like a little brother.
Yeah. He's Craig's 36 now, and I'm 34. And my mom died before she turned 50, right? Only reason I bring it up is because before my mom was 24, she had 6 kids. You know what I mean? I know she had a couple of abortions too. You know what I mean? I don't know the full extent of that, but I can only imagine that through her life, you know what I mean, she would have did it different. You know what I mean? Because the struggle that you got to think, man. Think about being 19 with 4 kids, man. That's a beast. You know what I mean? That's a beast, man. That's circumstances that you couldn't even imagine. And then she ain't even, my mom name was Nikki, you know what I mean? She ain't even Nikki no more. You get where I'm coming from? She's mama. How old, whoever she is, she's no longer that, you know what I mean? And I got a daughter myself now, she's 7. And I got another one on the way. But I couldn't imagine a world where my daughter, had to deal with something that she wasn't ready for.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And then you put grandmothers, you know what I mean? You got, and then say for instance this mother has this baby that she didn't want, right? She ain't gonna give it up for abortion, right? So now she got a mother, right? That mother's mother is now gonna have to take that child. This woman 47 years old. Her daughter, let's say she's 16, right? That's a whole different generation, right? You got a woman 18 years removed, trying to raise a baby in time that she don't even know. The way you raise a daughter, the way my grandmother raised my mother would have never worked if she was trying to raise me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's a whole lot of circumstances that come with that, man. And I think it's irresponsible for a government to try to dictate that, especially a government, you know, that once looked at us as property. Right? Who the fuck is they to say? What gives them the burn to say anything about what we do?
This is what I would say. I would say, generally speaking, there is, when it comes to abortion, there is a group of women who are sexually irresponsible. And I feel like the mass majority of those women are the ones who are fighting for these rights, the ones who are living recklessly. And I think that the only reason that I do agree with abortion is just because people are going to do it, and they need to have a safe environment to do that. But abortion is hard on your body. Like, it's so many negatives to get an abortion, I think. I look at the pros and the cons of the situation, and I don't know. I've never been in a situation, so I can't say what I would do. But
I think what you just said is so real, straight up. I'm not just saying that.
Right.
I think it's so real. But at the same point, right? Think about that. Those women that you say are acting irresponsible. Ain't they acting irresponsible because of their mother? Are they situation? Right? Couldn't they have been born to a mother that wasn't ready to have them? A father that wasn't ready to have them? A situation, circumstances in a street, in a community, you know what I mean, that didn't cater to them. You know what I mean? I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's so much deeper than just saying that. I just think it's so much deeper than just saying that you shouldn't do it, because people can say all day long, "Oh, you shouldn't have been hanging with that person, and you wouldn't have went to prison." Right? They can say it all day long, but the fact of the matter is, I still went to prison for something I had nothing to do with.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you speaking onto those babies. You know what I'm saying? That baby's coming into this world, and could be damaged because of something that they had nothing to do with. Because, like you said, a mother was acting irresponsible, a father was acting irresponsible, and then they brought a child into this world that's gonna go through the same circumstances and the same situations as them. You know what I mean?
What's hard with you have a child? If you become a parent, I wonder why it's hard for someone to acknowledge that I have to do better. That I have to acknowledge I won't. And I know sometimes we are raised ways and we don't come across things to help us grow. A lot of us don't grow. We stay in the same state. It's hard for us to change mentally,
Everybody is supposed to be parents. I just think that's a
but
very
a lot of people
I
are
just think that's
becoming
very-
or they're
right. I think that's
having
a very
abortion.
simple thing. Like, everybody, I've always believed that just because something can be done doesn't mean it should be done. Everybody who has the equipment to reproduce and bear children should not reproduce and bear children. I remember being in high school in a U.S. history class, and we had to write a paper for a contest, and it was like, if you could create a law, what laws would you create? And I remember the paper that I wrote said that I would make people get permits to have children. You have to take classes and learn what it means to go through child development and family relation and the whole family life cycle and stuff like that to have a
What
child.
grade was you in again?
I was in like 9th grade.
You a genius.
I was reading
You a
on
genius.
a college freshman level in like
Straight up.
8th grade. So like that's neither here nor there. I'm just like a super nerd, that's all. But I just remember thinking young, like, some people should not be allowed to have kids. Hearing the stories and things that some of my friends went through, some of the women that I have encountered in my life, the generation of women in my family who have broken generational curses, some of the women in my family should not have had children, but if they did have children, I wouldn't be here today, so I'm thankful that they did. But at the same time, you made a comment earlier about these reckless women being the ones fighting for rights. People who are reckless are not the ones going to the polls voting and fighting for rights. I guarantee you they're not. But at the same time, just because somebody behaved recklessly does not mean that their life should be damaged or altered indeterminately. And that is what has happened to this young man's life. Like, something happened when he was a child and it altered the way his adult life could be perceived. Now, this is another part of the conversation I wanted to talk about because, we are talking about rights. We're not just talking about abortion. There's other things we're going to bring up. So, there's a man who wrote, like, everybody's making a big deal about abortion. Abortion and the lifting of the ban is not targeting Black people because we are not the ones who are seeking abortions at the highest rates. White women are. And because of this, there's an author. His name is James Buchanan. He actually was a news anchor and got fired because of this book he published. And in the book, it was called Suicide of the Power. And he discusses that white America is an endangered species. And the fact that white people sit back and don't do anything to alter the fact that Black people are reproducing. Because like the argument that's being made is Black people get abortions at the highest rate, but you just told a story where your mother had 6 kids by a certain age. I had one grandmother who had 13 kids. I don't
agree with Black people being the highest. I do.
No,
Most of the time, what I'm coming from is coming from white women. Those are the women that I see fighting for the most. But a lot of them are like, to me, a lot of them are like feminists. A lot of the feminists, they fight for that. So I've seen it from a lot of white feminist women who fight for those rights. But that's a whole nother story.
I think, me personally, I feel as though, poor people. All right, poor people, man. Poor people are the ones who are affected most by anything. Man.
Yeah.
No matter what. I don't like using the term race. You know what I mean? I don't even like identifying myself as Black because I feel like, when I look in the mirror every day, you know what I'm saying? Why do people call me Black when my eyes tell me I'm brown? You know what I mean? And then being a bit of a history buff myself, I understand that when the 14th Amendment was passed, that's when I became Black. You get what I'm saying? Because before that, I was just property. So me, I identify as a descendant of slaves. But even with that, my whole point in saying what I'm saying, I feel like it don't matter what color you are, where you come from, man. It's all about what you got. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, people who can afford kids, they're not tripping. You know what I mean? They got them. They have them. You know what I mean? No matter what color you are. You know what I'm saying? People who can afford them, they have them. You know what I mean? And and it's us, the people that come from the trenches, man. The people that come from broken families. Like this is a system. The problem is a systematic problem, man. It goes back. My grandmother probably shouldn't have had kids. You get where I'm coming from? Like straight up, she probably shouldn't have. And that's crazy to say because if she didn't, I probably wouldn't be here. But that's the issue. You know what I mean? The issue is the circumstances that we constantly find ourselves in to where we can't get up. You know what I mean? And then we got a government. Here it is. Think about this, man. We just sat down, and I don't know if I'm going off, but it all goes into the same thing as you talking about his rights. We just said Donald Trump as a president. You know what I mean? I think he was a horrible person, but I feel the same way about Joe Biden. You know what I mean? He's the reason I could go to prison as a 16-year-old. You get where I'm coming from? He's directly the reflection of that law.
And that's exactly how I felt when Hillary was running because everybody was like Hillary versus Trump in that election. And I was like, did y'all forget in the 90s she was calling Black men thugs and criminals?
The worst thing she called us was super predators.
Super predators. That word right
predators,
there.
man.
And that goes back to the conversation at hand. Like, okay, so Black people have this narrative. Like, there's this narrative in America right now that we're the evil ones. Like, we're the ones who are raising the thugs and the gangsters and stuff. Like, but a lot of times,
but control nothing.
That we are
control
evil. That we
are. So, what do you all think about the fact that white America fears minorities? Like, in what ways do you think they fear minorities? You listed one way. You mentioned earlier that people who don't have nothing are the ones that get affected by stuff. So, like, imagine if we all protested and rose up against them. Like, we're the ones deeply impacted by it. So, of course, they fear us in that regard because they know we have the power to take them down. So, what other ways can we look at that they fear us?
I want to touch on something that you just said that you don't see. I mean, I understand you don't like to be identified as Black because to use something negative associated with it, I'm assuming. But I think that we still have to look at the fact that there was a point in time when we couldn't just get up and go and do what we have the rights and the freedoms and liberties that we do have now. And a lot of us, we have that, but we still mentally are not rich. And I think that we can't deny that our color that we have had the bottom of things. And I know that there are white Americans that endured poverty and a lot of things, but we are always we are the poorest people in the country.
I think you missed my point, and let me elaborate more. Let me explain what I meant by that. Right? So what I meant by what I said was, before Abraham Lincoln emancipated the slaves, right? I had no color, right? Nor did white people, right? The people that we call white today, they had no color, right? They was American. If they wasn't American, they tied themselves to the land that they came from before, right? So they tied themselves to Germany, they tied themselves to Britain, right? They tied themselves to any of those other countries in Europe, right? But they never said that they was white, right? We first have to remember that this country was built off symbolism, right? What is Black? The definition of black is devoid of light. What is white? Pure, enlightened, right? So it's a symbol, right? So for me to call myself black and to refer to somebody else as white, that's me acknowledging their superiority over me, because that's where those terms come from. So
got pushed too.
Yeah. So that's what I mean when I say I refuse to identify as black, because when I do it, then I'm catering to that same narrative, right? When I look in the mirror, my eyes tell me I'm brown, right? At the end of the day, I'm not based off of color, right? No color can define me. When you see a Chinese person, you don't say they yellow, you say he Chinese, right? When you see a European or a Russian, and they look just like this man right here, who we would call white, you don't say he's white, you say he's Russian, right? So what's the difference in me? What's the difference in him, right? So what I'm saying is that's systematic. That's that same system that beat us down every day. That's that same system that we talking about as we speak.
That's why that's a claim to kind. It's African American.
Exactly. And when you see an African, no, but not only that. But hold on, hear me out. Listen, hear me out right here. When you see an African, you don't even call him black. You call him African. And that African don't call you African. He call you American. Right? So think about that. Think about that. So when you call yourself black and you call him white, then you catering to that same narrative. And that's just bogus, right? And I think once we understand and we find whatever it is, I think the true problem is that we can't identify ourselves with any land. Right? Because that's what holds those people together. Why do Asians only deal with Asians? Right? Because they tie themselves to that land, where they come from. And it's culture. No, culture is part of tying yourself to land. Right. The Somalians, right? They tie themselves to Somalia. You know, that's why Somalia,
right?
Culture
is tied to America. So we have a very specific culture, and that's what this conversation is about.
It's about
changing the narrative and the things that are being pushed on us. So they are trying to convince us that we're these evil entities, we're not having children, but we're the ones who want to worship.
But we know better than that.
We're not the ones
But we know better than that.
You pointed out a lot of really, really good words.
But we know better
We
than
talk
that.
about laws and the understanding of the meanings of the codes and the ordinances and the amendments that they have. There's a book out that you can buy on Amazon right now. It's called Black's Law Dictionary. This book is a legal dictionary that has the technical term for every word that could possibly be used in every contract ever, from a rental agreement to you filling out the census to whatever. And a lot of those words are defined in there. The way that they talk about entity, person, the way that they talk about the laws, the way that they talk about, the way that they explain these definitions, and the fact that she was talking about how like the etymology of black and white and how we believe those things. It's like all these things, we living in a simulation where we're casting spells on ourselves daily, where we don't even understand the words that we're saying and the impact that they have on our lives. So I think that's another important part of understanding laws, because if you don't understand the words that are in these laws, then you're really going to be lost and out here trying to figure out why you can't do certain things because of one small thing that happened way over here in your timeline.
Just speaking of what you're saying, I came back from Jamaica. It was my first time there a couple of days ago, right? Of course, I was on the resort, you know what I mean? And, all the action's going on off the resort. But you got the people, you know what I mean? They own the beach, but they can't cross that line, right? And I'm watching how I'm amongst people from England, you know what I mean? I'm amongst people from, I had a couple people from Venezuela that was directly with my group. And my girl, her best friend just happens to be from Jamaica. And her mom is one of those people who work on those resorts. I'm sorry, thank you. And I appreciate you helping me to that book. I'm gonna definitely grab it. My whole point of bringing it up is that for the first time in my life, man, I ain't feel like the minority. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up. You know what I mean? Like when everybody that's like, and I felt bad though because like I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like just felt like they ain't recognized that I was one of them. You feel what I'm saying? They seen me as somebody on the resort, but all I wanted, I'm on the beach, you know what I mean? I went off the resort. I went to get the smoke, you know what I'm saying? I went to get the drink, you know what I mean? I'm out there hollering one, and my girl, she had to tell me that I was saying it wrong because I was saying one, and it's why, you know what I mean? But my point is that like I ain't even feel comfortable on the resort once I had interacted with the people of the land. You know what I mean? And then when I interacted with them, it was all love. You know what I mean? But when I went back to the resort with the workers at the resort, it was like it wasn't the same love. You know what I mean?
You want me to tell you what that was?
Talk to me.
All right, so I love traveling to Black countries. I've been to Jamaica 2 times, and I've been to the Bahamas. And one thing that I realized was the way that they separate us from the indigenous, is what they call them, the people who are from there. They say things to you when you're on a resort like, don't feed those kids. Don't give them anything. Don't give them $1. They're going to come back. They're leeches. They're this, they're that. And these are the people who are the resort workers who have been indoctrinated into this system, this resort system. Because a lot of those people on the island don't really respect the resort life, because that's just like me. I'm from Texas. I'm from Dallas. People coming to Dallas, like, I hate when they come down there on some tourist shit. Just like people from Atlanta hate when people come down there on some tourist shit, because you don't know the real city. You don't experience the real gusto. Like, the same thing with Louisville. Like, I lived in Frankfurt when I was in college, came here and lived here. My experience here the second time around is completely different. So that what you was experiencing with those people is, when those people who are part of indigenous islands or part of Black communities, and they have not been corrupted to the extent that we have, when they experience us, they don't know how to handle us, because they don't know how we're coming. They don't know what energy we're carrying. Are you carrying that white man, that male menace energy on your back? Are you being a colonizer just like those other people being a colonizer? But then they realize that you are one of them, and they open up to you and they love on you because they recognize that you are just another abandoned child touching down their home type shit, so they give you that love.
But ain't that perception though?
It's all about
ain't that perception. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I ain't no different than none of them. I go to work every day just like they do.
Different. You are different. We live in America where they have convinced us that we live the ideal life. They have convinced us that we have the perfect, like, the American dream. You know, we all got sold the American dream. And one thing that I realized,
that we're lazy.
one thing that I realized, that they have feed the children commercials about America in other countries like Germany and different countries in Africa. They have feed the children commercials for America, because America is one of the only countries that's a food desert in every fucking state that they have.
But that's propaganda too, though, right?
They don't take care. No, it's not. That's actually very true. Yeah. America does not have female fruit trees, so we can't go down the street and pick an avocado or a mango or a banana, because all the trees in America are fruit trees, are male fruit trees, which is why when you turn on the news and you look at the weather, they say that the pollen count is 93%, because there's a whole bunch of tree nut with no females to pollinate. So we all fucked up because.
And that's by design, right?
Yeah, it's by design. But the point that I was trying to make was, let me just bring this up. The continent of Asia had access to gunpowder, gun, and military equipment for 10 centuries before Europe did. For 10 whole centuries, they had the knowledge to go out and colonize and take over and break down every civilization that existed, and they did not.
So they invented the first gun.
Yes.
Not the...
No. And 10 years after them, like 14th century type shit, Europe got guns, and they decided to go out and colonize and pillage and destroy. So when people come across people like us from continents like this who have been so heavily colonized, they don't know how to receive us. They don't know how we're going to act towards them. They don't know what type of stereotypes we're coming at them with.
Yeah, but I think it goes both ways, because the same way we victimize, they are too, right? Because they taught to believe that if you can afford this resort, you know, and I guess I'm probably, I went to, when I got to the airport, you know what I'm saying, and I got $25,000 worth of their money, you know what I mean? And I gave it all out in tips, like straight up.
Right.
I gave it all out in tips. But I think they victims in the same way as us, because they expect that everybody that's at these resorts is rich. You know what I'm saying? All is this, all is that. But yeah,
because of the American dream.
No, I get that. Not even the dream. It's just the American ideology / perception.
Yeah.
The perception of American, right? But I think it's bogus, right? I think it's bogus because ain't even no thing. I know it's bogus, right? Because I know I ain't nothing like a lot of those people that was at that resort. I ain't in the same. I don't find myself in the same circumstances that they do. You know what I mean? And I know I was amongst a lot of people who well, I ain't gonna say a lot, but I know I was amongst a couple of people who ain't in the same culture as us, and they you know, they had to go hard for what they had. You know what I mean? And I'm not knocking them, but I too recognize that their circumstances wasn't the same as mine. You feel what I'm saying?
Think about how many evil experiences those people on those resorts had with people coming from America. Because one of the things I always crack up about when I'm in those African countries,
those resorts are owned by the British.
Oh yeah,
like all of them, even though they're foreign or different cultures than American culture, they're owned by white people on those resorts.
Yeah,
all of them. I don't think any of them are independent, but Barbados and
No.
became independent.
I don't think I know a couple of the joints the one that I stayed at was owned by an American. To be honest with you, it wasn't even a British person. It was an American that owned it. But
a white American, a black American?
No. He's an American. He ain't from the same culture as us. Like I said, once again, I don't really agree with the white and black. So I don't want But
the only reason why I say that is because if you look up ownership of a lot of the land, it has been by the British. It's been by white. Like if you look at the history of the world, it's only been white. Britain, not even just British, the Portuguese, the French, the Spanish, a lot of them, they conquered a lot of the world.
According to U.S. law, every single person
now
has a birth
a lot of the
certificate
world is in the Western way, even like what's going on with the Soviet Union and Ukraine. That's about white control. It's about tradition versus the new wave, about democracy. So
no, but see, I'm sorry,
how the world
I don't
is
mean to cut you off. But I think we gotta remember too though, like anytime you have a capitalistic society, right? How do you strive in a capitalistic society?
Make capital. You gotta make
access to capital, right? No matter where you at, the only way to survive in a capitalistic society is access to capital, right? No matter whether that's in Cuba, which we know they're communists, whether that's in Russia, which we know they're communists, but no matter where you go, if we live in a capitalist society, then the only way you're gonna survive is to have access to capital. Now, with that being said, what's gonna happen? The people who have more, what are they gonna always have? Access to capital. The people who have less, they ain't gonna have access to capital, right? So if that's the case, then you will always have a minority and a majority.
Absolutely.
Right? It's no way. So for me, like the problem is capitalism, right?
Okay.
Right. But at the same time, capitalism is the reason why I'm able to get out of prison and be in the situation that I find myself in today. You know what I mean? But I think like no different than what we was just talking about with Jamaica, or the Bahamas, or any other black countries. Like the whole world at one point, 92% of it was colonized by the Romans, right? By the Romans, kind of like, I'm wrong. But England,
Scotland.
I don't know, maybe Scotland, but I know for a fact England, France, and America at one point colonized like the whole fucking globe damn near. You know what I mean? So when you think about that, just think how fucked up that sounds. And then when you think about that, just think about how many years you have of those people and how many generations that you have of people that shit just trickles down to.
Absolutely.
And how many generations of people like us in those circumstances that just keeps on getting.
And that's why I started off saying that we needed to have guns, because the fact that globally they tell us that terrorists are the ones that come from other countries and come in, but we are seeing in real time on the American stage that domestic terrorism is at an all-time high. So it's like since 2013, this is a real number, there have been 2,128 mass shootings in America. The thing that I think is crazy, the narrative that they're trying to push is there's no way we can tell who the perpetrators of these shootings are, even though 52% of the mass shootings have been perpetrated by white males.
I remember when I live a little bit farther out now, right? And when the topic of owning a gun came up, you know what I mean, in my household with me and my lady, a big part of it was that I was a felon and I couldn't rightfully own one. You get what I'm saying? And but my mindset was more about her. I'm from the hood. I'm from the street, so I really feel like it ain't too much that I can't handle. You know what I mean? If a person come in my house and attempt to do some harm, I definitely feel like I'm gonna be the one walking at the door. I can't help it. That's just in my life and my circumstances, it showed me that to be true. But I bring it up to say what you just said about the mass shootings and stuff. But the shit that I fear most now is somebody, ain't the same shit that happened when I was growing up.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, somebody shooting somebody or a drug deal gone bad.
Like the fact that babies have
that ain't what I'm worried about. That ain't what I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is a dude trying to climb through the window at night and rape my lady. You know what I'm saying? The boys, the Richard Ramirez's and the Green Tree Stalkers, the Son of Sam's. That's the Ted Bundys of the world. Now, not really Ted Bundy, because Ted Bundy ain't getting me. He was a little bit on the other side. I'm more worried about my woman. I ain't worried about me. You know what I'm saying? I won't be able to protect my lady, but rape and shit like that. When I was growing up, I ain't saying it didn't happen, but I ain't heard about nobody breaking in the house down the street and raping Miss Johnson.
That definitely.
You know what I'm saying? That was in the burbs where I live at now. You know what I'm saying?
You bring up a really good point. Times have certainly changed. They've changed drastically from the time where we can leave our front doors and stuff open. And even though times in America has changed, society has changed, culture has changed, we're still battling the same problems. We're still having the same arguments about abortion rights since 1974. We're still arguing on whether or not we should have guns. Should we have the right to have guns even though we did something when we were younger?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
I was questioning,
With the mass shootings going on, what type of gun laws do you think should be posed on that? Because some people don't need to have guns.
Yeah.
And we do. Of course, maybe they be tried and true to see if I don't know how they would go about that process, but just them people. How do we protect ourselves from that?
That's a deep conversation, because he just was talking about capitalism and how everything plays a part. That's a conversation to have about capitalism that we're gonna have to cover next time.
I think you can't never, a world. That's just like saying, defund the police, and I understand that. But when you got, first and foremost, we all know the original police were slave catchers.
Absolutely.
Let's not act like we don't understand that. But as time went on, the police was the only people to call, right? As far as government went, you get where I'm coming from. So I think you go with guns, you gonna have a hard time.
Monetizing everything.
Not necessarily
monetized.
monetizing it, but attempting to regulate it, to say who can and who can't have a gun. Yeah. All right, look at what was the boy name in South Carolina? All right, you know what I'm saying? What was his name? Devin Roof or something like that? Yeah.
Shot up the church.
Yeah, like him. You know what I mean? Like you can't see them coming, right? And I think that's the problem.
Maybe some people can.
No. I mean that on a level as far as, right, once again, it ain't based, our system ain't based off ethics. It ain't based off, you always heard a politician saying, God we trust and God bless America. That's bullshit. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh.
But my point in that is because if that was the case, then it wouldn't be no need for a gun.
Absolutely.
Right. It wouldn't be no need for police. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So I think, I don't know how you would fix that, man. That's my point.
Well, that's where we're gonna leave it. We're gonna move to conversations, questions from the audience, any questions, comments, or concerns. But we definitely, Melanated Television wants to leave you all with that thought. Make sure you get out here and you learn your laws and you understand the rights and liberties that you have, so you can protect yourselves. If you are in a position like our guest right today who can't have a gun for whatever reason, figure out those expungement processes. Do what you gotta do to protect your home, even if it is getting the gun under your shorty's name. Whatever the case may be, we need everybody to be as militant as possible with everything that's going on in America. So do we got any questions, comments, or concerns from Melanated Television right now from the audience? That might be one. Hold on. Let's go first, and then we're gonna go over there to the right side. Well, they need a microphone first.
Check. Okay. Listen. My dog Q Smoke in the building. Shout out to Q Smoke, man. One of the hottest comedians in Louisville, Kentucky, man. Shout out to my dog Q Smoke in the building. Y'all make some noise, man. That's right. No, maybe be a Chinese, but he said he got a question for y'all.
I got a question. So I hear we talking about like domestic violence in the United States. Do y'all feel like one of the solutions should be that we should just start killing white people?
Absolutely not. I don't know where you are on your spiritual journey, but yeah, we just who's gonna be the deciding judge when it comes to killing people? Because I had a friend. He's a very militant African man. I wouldn't necessarily call him a hotel. Let's just say he's super woke. Take a nap. He called me one time after one of those shootings, and he was like, "Well, do you think?" He asked the same thing, like, "Do you think we should just start offing white people?" And I was like, "Who's gonna make the choice of who gets off and who's gonna pull the trigger?" Because we have some very gangster-like fellas in our community who still allow certain people to walk around for a lot longer than I expected them to walk around after they perpetrated murders against black people.
And they are, most of our black men are kind of throwing their life away anyway to kill each other. So why
Exactly.
not kill
So
them?
I'm on board. If we're gonna advocate for black domestic terrorists and what we're gonna do is say they're gonna go on suicide missions to kill white people, by all means, if that's what you're gonna do, take one for the team. But baby, realistically, who's gonna decide who's getting shot and who's gonna pull the trigger?
I think the whole point of what we just started this conversation about in the beginning was about death. All right, it is a life of life. All right, that's what we just started this conversation on. All right, so if that's the case, then killing can't be the resolution. All right, so killing anybody, that ain't the resolution. All right, the resolution is us understanding what's happening to us, man. Like, think about what's happening to us, man. Look at us, man. It don't matter. Like, it's
Yeah, I feel you. I got another question for you. I got another question for you. Cadillac?
And we got a question.
No, young man, we can't go out like that, okay? I'm gonna tell you something, though, okay? I understand that, but we're really real, though.
You see what happened in that turn?
Exactly. But we really have to be aware, okay? Y'all were saying how people are scared of us and scared of our race. People are not scared of us, okay? When you take a boy that walks in the church full of us and start pulling out stuff at us, people wasn't aware, okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, check this out. If I walked in a black place, a church or something, and I'm not dressed accordingly or whatever, they checking me at the door.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, sometimes you see my man and them come up, people don't even look at him. We gotta start just being aware. You know what I'm saying? Of our surroundings. Because, man, he went in there, this last one, it was ugly, boy, for real. And we got to look out for each other and stuff. You know, even at the school. You know what, one thing about it, back in the day, people used to look out for the schools and stuff like that. I'm in the bike world. If anything happened to anybody out here, tell them quick. If you run to the bike club, like one of you ladies, somebody out there messing with y'all run to the bike club, you'll see about 30 of us coming out there trying to do what we got to do. To check,
That's why I love
black
black men.
okay? See, a lot of people say that our thing is bad, but it's not bad. It's like a lifestyle that we like to deal with and stuff like that. But we will help, our community. We're not tearing it up, okay? I'm just saying, when we out here dealing with certain things, taking care of our business, let's be aware. You know what I'm saying? Don't just look at me, then I ain't the one. All right.
And that's a very good point. I mentioned that earlier. That's why I said everybody needs to be equipped to protect their own home. In 2008, when Obama won his election, do y'all know that these people, these male ministers, these alabaster assailants, they erected martial law training camps for the event that the American government collapsed. And I remember thinking at the time, like, where is our equivalent of that? What's going to happen to us if the U.S. government collapses? And they're prepared, and they got their children at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 shooting guns and preparing to farm and do things in case the government collapses. Where are we going to be?
Most definitely. We got one more question.
Two parts.
Go ahead, honey.
Okay. The first one, was about, the person was about the abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I look at it like this: a woman can do what she want to do with her body. Okay, but to me, if a woman got raped,
Mm-hmm.
if she have that baby, she won't look at that baby as a rape baby, and she will be angry.
Absolutely.
So,
And what quality of life is that for that child?
Exactly. So to me, if she want to abort, go ahead and abort. That's on that part.
Mm-hmm.
The second part, young lady, you can't get your gun rights, right?
Yeah.
You can get them.
Nah, I'm a Class B felon, man.
Hold up.
Help me out. Help me out, huh?
Hold up.
What I need to do?
Okay, I was 16
Huh?
in Alabama, raised in state ever.
Absolutely.
Okay, I got what they did, they wiped my slate clean because I was juvenile. You got to go through the system to get that done. But you know what happened here? I moved from Alabama. I was a bounty hunter. I left there, came here, and made the police department over in the Grange. So I just retired like 4 years ago. You could get them back. I got CCWs in my back pocket right now.
Yeah, so
You just got to go through the pocket. What you got to do, sometimes you got to go over.
You gotta find this loophole.
Yeah, so
Because see, when I was in Alabama, I had these lawyers working for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I left out a lot of stuff, but I was one of the biggest drug dealers down south.
Leave it out.
That's
We
right.
ain't trying to backtrack. We ain't trying to backtrack.
And the money I had to fix myself to get myself right. But it took me some money to get it right.
Yeah.
But you could do it.
So in the state of Kentucky, they have what they call a youth offender act, right? So being as though I was 16, I wasn't charged as a juvenile. I was charged as an adult, right? And with that act, right? Because I've done everything you speaking to now. Like at this point, the only thing I can do, and I didn't exhausted everything you talking about. I spent, but I didn't spend probably about, I ain't gonna say no lot of money, but about $6,000 with lawyers. You know what I'm saying? Trying to figure out ways, because I can't get my record expunged because of the severity of the crimes.
When we're talking,
Please do, man.
I'm gonna give you a lawyer to talk to,
Okay,
and they will help you, bro.
I appreciate you.
All right, we got time for one more question.
It's right. We got one more question.
And we're gonna wrap it up. Key, it's one over there.
I got a question. So what do we really come from?
Where do we come
God.
from?
Where did we come from?
We came from source. We came from source.
Oh, when my brother was talking about Scotland, ours, King.
Oh, okay.
Oh, do y'all go
What's the
back?
name of
Do y'all go back deep in y'all ancestors?
Absolutely.
Yeah, can I tell y'all what I believe it? Me and my brother, we related to King James.
Still here, honey.
We related to King Kill. Y'all know who people are, right?
Mm-hmm.
They say they white people, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Nah. Inshallah, alhamdulillah, sister.
Ain't that right?
We far from that. You feel me?
I'm
We royalty.
I know.
Our blood that we carry, our blood is higher than the Queen Elizabeth. You feel me?
Absolutely.
It's higher than the Queen Elizabeth.
Absolutely.
I'm a heel. It's called heel royalty. We all got our own laws of power. Far as when we colonize, we call the heel because we defeated the strongest people in power at the time, and that's Britain. We defeated them over the hill. That's why we call it the hill. We're the king of the hill. And we entitled with that, with King James. You see what I'm saying? We get wiped out, distracted from all this shit. I don't watch the news. I don't know that shit. I don't eat meat and none of that. You feel me? So life is repeating itself but in a different version. So what I'm saying is, how y'all was talking about all them camps and shit back in the day, it's going on again like in Middleworth.
Absolutely.
That's it. Y'all gotta think about it. The Pope wrote a letter to Obama that we're entitled to all of his land. America got land with the Catholics. The white think they're the whole world's Catholic.
Right.
That's what we're really supposed to be. So the Pope wrote a letter to the Obama and state the fact, y'all out of debt, and it's time to get the land back to the rightful people. The rightful people is the black people.
Absolutely.
The magical people. So what it is about to go on for the next 2-3 years, y'all need to get up on that. So I don't know a lot of shit ain't none of y'all business. Y'all need to get on your research and getting back to y'all ancestors, get to the higher royalty of power. You feel me? Shit, my family royalty, we own 80% of the market. And that's the James and the Hill. The big black royalty family is J. If your name is James, Hill, Johnson, Smith, shit. Jackson, you the world, baby. We talking about kings too. The president got nothing to do with the kings. You feel me?
But they do, they all related.
Huh?
They all related.
No, that's where y'all go wrong with.
The low level
No.
Even though you don't acknowledge her, all of those, that's a bloodline. You can really trace the family lineage. Like Obama, all of them have family ties to the Queen Elizabeth. Like,
You know how Queen Elizabeth got her spot? She snaked the men. You know how she got her spot?
Yes, I do. Listen, we're trying to wrap up, and we got.
Inshallah, humble.
We definitely need to have this conversation.
We appreciate you, brother Box. Yeah, came out his flip box over here. Let's see, got one quick question. Quick, I got one quick question.
What you got for us?
You already kind of answered this at the beginning of your conversation before you ask my questions. But what are your individual opinions on what we can do as far as action about the conversation? The conversation is nice, but as far as action, what are y'all opinions on what we can do as individuals?
I would say coming together and bring awareness.
Okay.
Shedding the light, spreading the love, coming together, helping each other. Stop living in ignorance, looking to read books, looking to do better. We all come from different backgrounds. We've got a lot of trauma, but learning how to be strong, how to overcome trauma, having the will, having a strong will.
Okay. What you care?
I think the way we fix it, man, is just, at the end of the day, you ain't gonna fix it in one generation, right? But it's gonna take one generation to do so. And that's like my brother, what you say, Box, like he was saying, Muhammad.
He said when these niggas start getting out of one, they gonna take over the
world. The way you fix it is knowledge of self, man. Right. And we gotta get back to thinking literal, right? We gotta get back to thinking literal. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get back to thinking literal, man. And I think once we do it and we take ourselves away from what we taught and what we told, like once again, man, we told that we black, man. Somebody told me that I'm black. Somebody told me that he's white.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody told me that, right? I don't see that when I see him. When I look in the mirror, I don't see that I'm black. Yeah. I see that my skin brown, right? Somebody told me I'm black. And I think once we get back to the basis of who we are and what we do, we'll be straight.
That's right.
Personally, I think every time I get asked this question, I get a lot of pushback from it, but I think we need to burn the whole system down. At no point in American history have black people been protected. At no point in American history have women been protected. At no point in American history have our children been protected. And we are relying right now, we're relying on this same system to change itself, to fix itself, and to heal itself. How are we going to do that? We cannot rely on it. The education system is flawed. The school to prison pipeline is there. The prison system is flawed. Like, there's so many flaws, and we just accept it. We just deal with it. So I think calling to action, we need to be more militant.
So we need to do what the Haitians did.
Burn it down.
We gotta recreate this population.
How you gotta do what the Haitians did, but do it better, because look where the Haitians is at.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
We gotta reprogram ourselves, y'all. Melanated television is not for me.
Melanated television.
The Haitians are the only ones who fought and gained their freedom.
But they still ain't free.
They're not only not. Your definition of free, that's why I said we make conditions.
No. My definition is free.
Listen, we can go back and forth all day, but we gotta wrap this shit up.
No, I ain't speaking.
Shout out to Melanated television, man, in the building.
I ain't speaking of money. I'm speaking about
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say
wrap it up.
thank you for our guests.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank everybody who
Ready?
Thank you all for coming out, listening to us, supporting. Make sure you tap in and follow Melanated Television on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Yeah.
So Life.
And So Life, my business brand, I'm a nonprofit that works on helping women advocate for their education and financial freedom. So tap in with me, SOL Life, on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Let's go. Everybody tap in. Make some noise for Melanated Television. Let's go.